These are my Pioneer CS515 speakers. Well, they used to be. In my previous video I showed you how I turned these broken speakers into studio-worthy monitors, link in the description. But I wasn't all there yet. I left off with the electronics for this project looking messier than a rock band's hotel room after a 3-day bender. The amps had a hint of hiss, and while the bass woofers were decent, I like it just a little tighter and deeper. I'm back with some exciting upgrades that I've been working on. I decided to clean up the mess that was the amplifiers, get rid of some of the hiss, upgrade the bass woofers, and attempt to reduce the edge diffraction issues. Let's dive in. Quick disclaimer, I'm still an absolute newbie to all of this. I know just enough about speaker building and electronics to be dangerous, to myself. Some of the things I do in this video might be incorrect, so don't be afraid to let me know if I'm doing something stupid. I figured I'd start with the amplifiers. I was hoping to install the amps and the power supplies in an affordable case, but finding one that didn't cost an arm and a leg wasn't easy. Luckily, after some searching, I found a plastic case that was affordable and okay looking. It was also rack mountable, so that was great. Once the case arrived, I first did an initial test fit to make sure all my components were fitting perfectly. It was important to do that before deciding where to drill any holes for the connectors and dials. As you can see, there was not a lot of room left, so I had to get a little creative with the placement. That meant that I had to mount this little piece of hardware to the side of the case. This is an AC power filter that I'm adding, by the way. It will be wired between the power inlet and the power supplies, and it will help to eliminate unwanted noise and hums that might be the result of dirty power or other electrical appliances. So simply said, it kind of cleans up the incoming power signal. If you ever heard weird noises in your speakers when your fridge turns on, for example, you know why this is necessary. Once I was satisfied with the layout, I measured out where I needed to drill the holes for the inlay connectors, buttons, switches, power inlet and more. There are probably better tools for the job, but I made do with what I had available at the time. Then it became time to fill the holes. I started with the backside, inserting the connectors for the power and the inlaid connectors to connect the speakers, while applying some glue. To make sure the connectors don't budge too much, I also screw them on. To complete the backside, I attached the stereo input. Now to the front. I installed a power button, indicator lights, and some pods to control the main volume and some other stuff later on. I found some knobs on AliExpress that I can use on the pods. I attached a big volume knob and 3 smaller knobs. With all the connections done, it became time to install everything in the enclosure and reconnect everything. I placed feet under all the boards and put them in the right place. Now, you might remember from the last video that the amps had a little bit of hiss and it was not possible to turn down the gain of the amps. To combat that, I made a custom circuit board with L-pads for both the tweeter and the mid-range drivers. For those unfamiliar, an L-pad is a simple circuit made up of resistors arranged in an L shape. It reduces the signals sent to the drivers without affecting the balance of the sound. The amp still had a lot of headroom available, so in this way I attempted to reduce the noise level and also protected the drivers a little more against being overloaded by the amplifiers. By the way, I know this is more of a patch than a fix, and it won't completely fix the issue, but it's cheaper than buying new amplifiers again, so I thought it was worth a try. Full disclosure, I had to redo the soldering on this board more times than I want to admit. My soldering was so bad that my resistors weren't the only components with high resistance. I think I encountered it all while making this board, bad connections, stuff breaking off, it was a bit of a struggle. But that's all part of the learning process, I guess. With the L-pad in place, I can go ahead and finish the rest of the wiring. Here's how it looks all hooked up. Not exactly a masterpiece, but hey, good thing it's getting covered by a lid later. Now, let's see if I wired up everything correctly. Not only did it turn on, but nothing exploded. I call that a win. And the sound is still working as well. There was one more upgrade I wanted to make to the amplifier. The cooling. Because the fans could be a little noisy when they turn on. I tried running them without any fans at all, hoping passive cooling would suffice, but spoiler, it didn't. They started cooking like they were prepping dinner. So I swapped in a pair of silent fractal design fans along with some low noise adapters. These are basically just resistors that keep the fans from going full tilt. The result? Solid airflow and no distracting noise, exactly what you want in a studio setup. With just 4 more screws to attach the lid, the amplifier box is done. Now onto one of the most challenging parts, the woofer upgrade. By the way, in the last video I mentioned that the woofer was carbon fiber, but this is probably not entirely correct. Apparently it's some sort of paper cone with carbon fiber blended into it that was typically used in Pioneer speakers at the time. Anyway, finding a suitable replacement for the current woofers wasn't exactly a walk in the park. It had to physically fit in the existing cabinet without too much modifications. They had to be compatible with the enclosure in terms of their teal small parameters. It had to be a high quality driver as well, and it needed high sensitivity so it could be driven by my current amplifiers. And lastly, they also needed to be able to go deep. I measured the box and the ports, which allowed me to find the tuning frequency of the speakers, which should be 33 Hz. With this information, I went on a search for drivers. I went through a ton of different spec sheets, but sadly none of the drivers I encountered would be a good match. They either didn't have enough sensitivity, wouldn't match physically in the enclosure, had questionable quality, or just wouldn't perform well when I made a simulation in WinISD. Just when I was ready to give up, I found a woofer from Visaton, the diyaudio 250XS, that would fit perfectly in the existing driver's hole, with its outer diameter of 27.6 cm. This is a high-end woofer with a sandwich cone made up of layers of fiberglass and polyester fabric. This sandwich construction makes the cone very rigid and keeps resonances down while still being very light. So this will ensure a high level accuracy, definitely when combined with the massive motor on the back. Just look at it compared to the old driver. It also has some other nice features such as a sensitivity of 89 dB at 8 ohm and a maximum excursion of 14 mm. When simulating this woofer in WinISD, I could reach an F3 of 31.5 Hz, which is the frequency where the bass output drops by 3 decibels. That is, with a filter already applied, to make it a little bit more linear. If I just lost you in the technical details, all of this just means that they're going to be able to provide accurate and deep bass. There was only one little problem. The rim on this Visaton woofer is less thick than the one from the original driver. So there would be a protruding edge around the woofer, which is not ideal. To allow these to fit regardless of that, I added some gasket tape on the back of the rim, which is a good idea anyway if you want an airtight fit. Once done, I drilled some new holes for the screws, and I followed that up by placing the drivers in the enclosures. With the gasket tape applied, it's a perfect fit. I'm really happy with how that turned out. While working on the speakers, I also wanted to address the issue with the protruding edges of the cabinet. These edges can cause something called edge diffraction, where sound waves scatter in unpredictable ways, possibly causing ringing or harshness in the sound. To help with this, I added small felt strips to the edges. Now, this small bit of felt will of course not completely eliminate the issue, but it's definitely better than letting sound waves bounce off a hard surface. Ideally, I'd get rid of the protruding edges and have rounded edges instead, but I don't want to completely destroy the classic look of these speakers. With the new bass drivers and the L pads applied, I of course had to spend some time remeasuring and configuring the DSP again to get the whole system to sound good. This is honestly one of my favorite parts of the whole process, but it's also very time consuming. After weeks of testing and tweaking, I finally got them to a point where I feel comfortable mixing and mastering on them. So, with all these upgrades, how does it sound? Well, the new bass woofer is a lot tighter and goes a lot deeper than the original woofers. They can provide plenty of sub bass. I can hear them rolling off under 27 Hz, which is better than some expensive pre-built subwoofers. And I'm really happy with that, considering the relative small size of the box. The L pad succeeded in reducing the hiss, and it's quite faint now. You need to go quite close to the speakers to hear it. That being said, it's not all gone. So I'm still looking out for some better ways to power these speakers that still allow for crossovers and tuning to be done in the DSP. Some people already gave me some good suggestions for other amp modules that I could use instead. If you guys also have suggestions for amps that I could use for this setup that support DSP somehow, definitely let me know. Could be a nice upgrade in the future. Songs that are mixed well really shine on this system, and if a mix isn't done quite right, it stands out immediately, which makes it really easy to work on. I've been using this system in the state for quite some time now, and I'm getting good feedback on the mixes I deliver as well, which is basically all that matters for studiomonitors. So yeah, I'm really happy with the work I did, and they sound quite amazing to me. Definitely considering I'm not really using expensive electronics. There's just one issue. Every couple of weeks I have to wiggle on the N8 connectors because the connection to the mid-range driver seems to fail. I'm not 100% sure yet what causes this. Maybe I need to use other crimp connectors. Just to make sure, I'll probably redo the L-pad circuit as well when I find some time, with some better soldering and a more reliable way of attaching the cables. It's quite hard to convey how these sound through YouTube, as microphones will change the sound and might not pick up all the nuances properly, but since people asked for this in the last video, I'm going to do a sound demo anyway. But please keep in mind that this is a suboptimal way of experiencing these speakers. Oh guys, by the way, the mic that I used is a little bit noisy, so if you hear noise in the recording, it's because of the mic, it's not the speakers. Sadly, I don't have another stereo pair available right now, so yeah. I did include a recording with my mobile phone as well, so I hope that gives some indication as well. I'd love to hear what you think about this upgrade. Also, if you have suggestions for better amplifiers or easy tweaks that might improve the sound even more, let me know. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more updates and hit that bell so you never miss another video. And if you didn't like it, well, then just let me know in the comments why. Thanks for watching.